So let's talk about the engine that feeds over 1 billion people. We're diving into Indian agriculture. And look, this isn't just about the sheer scale of it all. It's about a rhythm, a really ancient beat that pulses with the coming of the rains. And trust me, if you want to understand India, you've got to understand that rhythm.
You know, if you really want to get a feel for modern India, you've got to start with the soil. Farming here, it's just not an industry, it's a legacy. So yeah, you see a modern tractor plowing the fields, but what it's really doing is turning over earth that holds literally millennia of history. It's the very foundation of the nation's identity.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 46%. We're talking about nearly half of India's entire workforce depending on the land for their livelihood. I mean, this isn't some niche sector. This is the human engine that powers rural India, and you could argue, the entire country.
And all that human power? Well, it translates directly into serious economic might. Agriculture makes up over 18% of the country's GDP. That makes it an absolutely vital pillar of the economy, shaping, well, everything, from life in a tiny village all the way up to national policy.
But here's the thing. This whole enormous undertaking, it isn't chaotic at all. It actually follows this precise, ancient rhythm. It's a cycle that's dictated almost entirely by the climate, and especially by the arrival of the monsoons. And it's this rhythm that neatly divides the agricultural year into 3 very distinct seasons.
So what are they? They're called Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid. And what's really fascinating here is that the names themselves are Arabic in origin, and they date all the way back to the Mughal era. So for centuries, these 3 seasons have been the framework that organizes Indian farming, keeping that cycle of food production moving all year long.
All right, so let's break this down. We're going to dive into each of these 3 seasons one by one. We'll look at the specific crops they're known for, their timing, and really see how each one fits so perfectly into the climatic puzzle of the Indian year.
Okay, first up, Kharif. If you remember just one thing about this season, let it be this: the monsoon. The arrival of the southwest monsoon, it isn't just some weather event. No way. It's basically the starting pistol for millions of farmers all across the country.
And you can see right here just how perfectly synchronized everything is. Sowing gets started in June and July, which is timed precisely with the monsoon's arrival. And the crops themselves, we're talking rice, maize, cotton, sugarcane, they're chosen specifically because they absolutely thrive in this hot, wet climate. But, and this is a big but, that perfect sync also reveals the season's greatest weakness: its total dependence on those rains showing up on time.
And this right here, this is the reality of Kharif farming in action. You take a steeple crop like rice, the work is just incredibly labor-intensive. Those flooded paddy fields you see, they only exist because of the monsoon. The whole process, from planting every single seedling by hand to the final harvest, it really becomes a race against that seasonal clock.
Okay, so once the monsoon recedes, the rhythm shifts. The heat and humidity start to fade, and they give way to a cooler, drier period. And that, right there, ushers in the second big season, Rabi, the season of the winter crops. The profile for the Rabi season is almost a perfect mirror image of Kharif. Sowing moves to the cool, dry months of late autumn. The key crops, things like wheat, barley, peas, mustard, they're all chosen because they just thrive in these conditions. And this is crucial: without the monsoon rains, farmers have to rely on irrigation, channeling precious groundwater to keep their crops going until the spring harvest.
And this is what a successful Rabi season looks like. That golden wheat being threshed in the spring, that is a cornerstone of India's food security. It's all that winter labor, powered by really careful water management, finally being turned into food for the entire nation.
But wait, the cycle isn't over just yet. Because between the Rabi harvest and the next Kharif sowing, there's this short but really intense window of opportunity. And this is the Zaid season. Think of it like a quick agricultural sprint during the hottest, driest part of the year.
Yeah, the Zaid season is all about speed and adapting to that brutal heat. It's a super brief window, perfect for fast-growing crops that can handle the intense summer sun. We're talking about things like watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, crops that provide much-needed hydration and income during the hottest months. They perfectly bridge the gap between the 2 main agricultural acts.
Now you might be thinking this whole 3-season system sounds like a pretty modern, efficient invention, right? But the truth is way more incredible. This rhythm of farming isn't new at all. In fact, its roots go back thousands and thousands of years.
Okay,
Just look at this. Seriously. On the left, you see these perpendicular furrows for intercropping. They were dug at a Harappan site around 2800 BCE. And on the right, it's the exact same technique being used today. That is a nearly 5,000-year-old unbroken chain of agricultural knowledge, passed down from generation to generation.
And it's the ancient texts that make this knowledge so tangible. Take this quote from a text called the Vriksha Yurveda. I mean, it's not just some quaint saying, right? It's specific, practical advice on preparing seeds. It just shows this incredibly deep observational understanding of soil, of seeds, and what makes them grow. Knowledge passed down for millennia.
Which of course brings us to today. The story of Indian agriculture right now is all about a dynamic balance. The big question is, how do you honor and use this ancient ecological wisdom while at the same time embracing modern technology to meet the challenges we face today?
And this right here, this is the reality of Indian agriculture today. You have the timeless method of plowing with oxen existing right alongside a modern mechanical transplanter doing basically the same work. See, one hasn't completely replaced the other. Instead, they often coexist, and it's a perfect visual for that blend of tradition and innovation you can find in fields all across the country.
So the future, it really seems to lie in this powerful integration. It means taking that deep, traditional knowledge of seasons and soil and combining it with modern tools like drip irrigation or even drones for monitoring crops. So you see, this isn't about choosing between the past or the present. It's about merging the absolute best of both to secure the future of food. And all of this brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? This incredible agricultural rhythm, it has endured for millennia, constantly adapting. But now it faces its greatest challenge yet, a rapidly changing climate. So the question is, can this ancient system, which has always danced to the tune of the weather, learn a completely new rhythm to survive the future? The answer to that? Well, it's going to affect every single one of us.